Yeah, I just heard a ESPN update. But this is not ESPN. Let me know when you all are ready. Make sure that we can hear me all good and all that good stuff, and then we'll go from there. I hate YouTube sometimes. If you all are looking at the jank thumbnail, my apologies. That's just YouTube being YouTube. It should not actually be that thumbnail. The thumbnail should be of Tim Black and Donna Brazile. Hopefully it corrects itself. But once again, this is YouTube, so it probably will not. But thank you all so much for watching. This was like a crazy interview, and I don't mean a crazy interview like, wow, there was like mind-blowing revelations. I think there were about one or two revelations that were really surprising to me, but I don't think that there were like any like mind-blowing revelations like, wow, like Donna Brazile is actually being honest about something. Like, nothing like that. I don't think that was the case. However, there were some revelations in another sense, and I made sure to actually document, well, also so people on Twitter who may not be able to watch the videos can also see it. But I wanted to make sure that I documented all this on Twitter, and I was going to talk about it tomorrow, and I just decided, nah, this cannot wait, because in my opinion, my personal humble opinion, Donna Brazile kind of like just reaffirmed everything that we believed. And what's worse in my opinion is that she started asserting like nonsense with no proof whatsoever, and even in a lot of cases denying the proof that we already have about particular situations, like Russiagate, like Seth Rich, like the Democratic primary, like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, like with Bernie Sanders. I mean, the list goes on, right? And she absolutely refused to substantively address Tim Black's comments. She absolutely refused to substantively address the comment that I had about, you know, if she knew that Bernie Sanders was better for black voters, and not only that, but Hillary was absolutely horrific for black voters, then why would you then not endorse Bernie, or why would you sway the election in favor of Hillary Clinton, or even support her in the slightest? Why would you call you claim she tried to pull the black card the entire interview, and it didn't make any like your actions don't match your words, and I want to give a couple of examples of that. And the easiest way for me to do it is to just go back through my tweets and address what was being talked about, and then kind of debunking that. So actually, was that really the first thing I said? Man, I thought I said so much before that. Oh, I guess that was the first thing I said. So she actually said that Bernie Sanders had access to every bit of information that Hillary Clinton's campaign had, which we know is categorically false, because she even said that there was an agreement that was signed that the Bernie Sanders campaign didn't get a chance to sign, nor did they see, nor was it an agreement that the Bernie Sanders campaign offered. So she's like, opens up the conversations with a lie, which I kind of expected, right? But that was one of the smaller lies, believe it or not, because what she then says, so to put this tweet in context, so I said that Hillary Clinton didn't count she said that Hillary Clinton did not count the votes And that's why she believed that Hillary Clinton didn't rig it. So what I mean by that is, what Donna Brazile said is, Bernie Sanders didn't count the votes, Hillary Clinton didn't count the votes, I didn't count the votes, you didn't count the votes, the state counted the votes, she won by X amount of margin, she also won the superdelegate vote, and that's why I believe Hillary Clinton didn't rig it. Because, like, what kind of elementary school logic is that? That's like, you all, I'm sure at some point are familiar with the American gangster Frank Lucas. One of the reasons that he was able to dodge prosecution for so long, it was because he never touched the drugs that he was selling. He didn't even want to be in 2 feet of the people who were actually selling his drugs. He did business through his family, and then the family then were managing the business on the streets. That's essentially how this entire thing went. Just because you didn't count the votes, or like you weren't the one destroying the ballots, doesn't mean that you did not use your power to leverage the momentum, and leverage the information, and leverage the destruction of ballots, which we've seen over and over and over again. Leverage the tampering of voting machines, which we not only saw in the primary, but we also saw that from Hillary Clinton in the general election as well. But it largely went overlooked because she had lost. But she did get caught vote tampering. She did get caught switching votes in Detroit into her favor, like from Republican into Democrat, or from independent into Democrat. That has already been proven. There were so many machines in the Democratic precinct, the democratically run precinct, that couldn't even, they were so tampered with that the votes couldn't even be reconciled to figure out if someone had switched the vote into one person or another. And the person who benefited from that was actually Hillary Clinton. She lost still, but in the Democratic states, she did in fact still try to rig in the general election. So, but that's like the elementary school thought process of our establishment politicians, or do they think we're idiots? I'm starting to think it's a slight combination of both. I really do. I think that it's a slight combination of both. I think they think we're stupid. I also think that they think we're naive. And there is possibly, quite possibly, given, just from looking at her and listening to her multiple times at this point, I think that Donna Brazile is also naive to a degree. I think she wanted to be part of the club. I think that she figured, oh man, if I could get a job at Hillary Clinton's campaign, Hillary Clinton's campaign. If I could be a surrogate for Hillary Clinton, if I could get that job in the White House, because you have to remember, for a lot of these establishment politicians, especially black politicians, this is one of the things that's actually kind of screwed us in the Democratic Party. We end up bending over backwards for them. We sell out, and they call our name when it's our turn to represent one of them. That's what we have been. The African American caucus, or the African American Congressional caucus, everybody, they jumped on Hillary's bandwagon like that. Didn't think twice about it, because Hillary, the white elitists, called their names, and if you want to get that spot, my friends who are at the top aren't going to let you get there unless you do what I tell you to do. That is literally the history of the African American, how a lot of African Americans act in the Democratic Party. It's been like that it's just like the Republican Party. Republicans a little bit, more blatant, when people like Ben Carson are saying like racism doesn't exist. Like, it's a little bit more blatant in the Republican Party. It's more nuanced in the Democratic Party, but I always say that nuance is actually a little bit more dangerous than blatant selling out. Now, come on, Donna. I found no evidence that anyone set any rules against Bernie Sanders. The ironic thing about this statement is that she later in the show says, yeah, Donna Brazile actually tried to limit it, or did successfully limit it, to 6 debates. And we actually she claimed that they tried to fight her on it. She claimed this. I don't believe her, but she claimed this. But you can't say that she said this. You can go, I urge you all to go back and watch the interview if you didn't see it yet. She literally said, I found no evidence that anyone set any rules against Bernie Sanders. And then, once again, trying to morally qualify her statements because she never factually quantified anything. Yeah, Debbie Wasserman Schultz actually was the one who did that. Hold on, I thought you said that they don't have any effect on the rules. In fact, she went out of her way to say the states handle all that, and then she went out of her way to say all those decisions are made before the presidential primaries come up, like well before that, years before that. But then you go on to say that right before the primaries, Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the one who changed the rules last minute, and you fought her on it. So I thought but the DNC supposedly doesn't have any control over this type of stuff, which is a lie. It's a blatant lie. So, yeah, no evidence. You weren't looking. All you had to do was literally like peekaboo. All the evidence is right there, and it's still right there. It's if I can get evidence that the primary is rigged against Bernie Sanders, if the average independent journalist up to the more well-known and resourced independent journalists and even some mainstream journalists can get the evidence that there was clear collusion, that there was clear rigging going on, there's clear hacking, but not from Bernie Sanders, but with voting machines. Damn it. I wish I would have gave Tim this question to ask, like, why, if there was no evidence of rigging against Bernie Sanders, why did all of a sudden you remove the exit polling last minute whenever we started catching on? And then somebody came up with the magical realization, hold the hell up. If a vote if an outcome of an election is more than a 2% difference than the exit polling results, that is evidence of election fraud, and that election is supposed to be decertified immediately, and there's supposed to be an investigation. When that realization started popping up, ladies and gentlemen, oh God, just like that, exit polling was gone. We haven't seen it since until the general election. So that's just another example. But hey, if she didn't find evidence, everybody, then rest assured, because I used to hang out with Jesse Jackson, and I emailed Bernie, and he's my friend, and Jane Sanders is my friend. And if you look at everything that I've done in my past, it's clear that you should just forget all the bullshit that I just did this last year. That's what I pretty much heard the entire time. Then she also said, I know the difference between people who is actually what it was supposed to say is, I know the difference between people who support the party, the Democratic Party in name only, and those who never leave a dime behind. And like I said in the tweet, this is literally the definition of Hillary Clinton. And what's crazy is that she says, I know the difference. You know the difference, but you literally said in your book, in that article that you wrote, that the letter that you wrote apologizing to Bernie Sanders, that you were supposedly friends with and you talk to all the time, but you're just now apologizing to Bernie Sanders. She apologized to him after the primary was over. What a coincidence. But she said that I know the difference between them. But the party was literally having its funds sucked up by Hillary Clinton, and she has literally not left a dime behind. You are in debt. You are in a lot of debt. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has helped to keep you all in a lot of debt. Even George Soros has stopped donating to you all. Y'all suck bad. For you to claim you know or you knew the difference, it's fucking hilarious. Because you even claim to be, you even claim to be Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton's friend. How could you ever, as a black woman who rides on her career as a black civil rights activist, as a female activist, how could you ever be friends with someone who called your people super predators because of the way they looked? And you claim she's a smart person, that she, is most of the time the smartest woman and the smartest person in the room. I'm pretty sure Hillary Clinton had an Ivy League education, had every bit of access to facts and information and intel that you could want because of her being a governor, being the wife of a governor, because of her being active in policy, and she's supposedly the policy expert. She knew that those policies are racist. She knew that her husband's policies are racist. She didn't care. She intended on getting the reaction that she wanted from the people that she needed to vote for her. Bill Clinton and George Bush were literally running on how many people, which one of them are going to jail more black people. Like, that's literally what they ran on. Come on. But you know the difference, right? The fact that you called those people friends, like I said, once it demonstrates that either she thinks we're stupid, or the very, very realistic possibility that Donna Brazile does not have the seat at the table that she thought and thinks that she has, and she is being kept out of the loop on a lot of this and a lot of the dealings. But I know you were not kept out of the loop on the fact that Bill and Hillary Clinton started a Confederate flag day in Arkansas. I know you're not kept out of the loop about Bill Clinton's sexual assault allegations. I know you're not. You're not that stupid. You don't sit that close to the DNC unless you are in that era, the Clinton era, like from 2007, from 2007 up until this point. That's what I call the Clinton era. But you don't get a seat that close to the DNC unless you know about a lot of the things they do and you're willing to help aid and abet them from facing responsibility. Oh man, she gets on my nerves. It's kind of pissed me off, as you can hear in my voice. So she actually said this in response to the DNC fraud lawsuit hearing. The lawyers said that, obviously, if you don't know, they said that the DNC can rig any election they want to, and they would be perfectly justified, and it'd be okay legally for them to do so. And she said that any lawyer who said that should have been stripped from their right to represent the Democratic Party. Man, I'll be honest with you. How did you not know they said this? And why didn't you speak on it at the time? And I'm going to get to why I think that's a pretty important fact. That she didn't speak on a lot of this stuff. And she deflected a lot. But it was the way she deflected that I want to discuss a little bit later too. That statement was bullshit. But I mean, I think that I want to know the name of the law firm and save me the crocodile tears. Save them. I live in Florida. I see too many crocodiles anyway. Oh, this is a new little interesting tidbit of information that I'm definitely going to be researching tomorrow. There's a CEO of the DNC. And I'm like, in my head, why the hell do you need a CEO for a political party? For a political committee, no less. Because CEOs run organizations to make money. If she was the leader, the quote-unquote leader of the Democratic Party, then why she should just be the DNC chairperson or chairwoman. But that doesn't appear to be the case. She's a CEO that I have actually never heard of. And this is really extraordinary because myself, nor Jared, nor Elizabeth, nor Colin, none of us have really ever heard her name muttered in regards to the DNC fraud lawsuit, anything to do with the DNC. The entire election, her name never got brought up. And so that actually, in my opinion, could be a huge missing link in a huge way. And I'm interested to see how many ties that she has. I did a little research on her. And like she did, like she was super pro woman, she literally has a super PAC that's dedicated to getting women elected that she started right before she became the CEO of the DNC. So not saying that there shouldn't be one. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that when you combine that with everything else that we know about the collusion, about the Hillary no matter what because she's a woman, despite every negative thing that could damn women and every other minority that she represents, that does make sense. They rigged it from the top. Literally, it was rigged from the top down. From the top down. And they left people like Donna Brazile, where she doesn't even get it. They left her the crumbs. And then they let you hit the ground. And she's still defending them. And once again, I'm gonna get to why I think that is. In a little bit. But let's move on. This shit right here, ladies and gentlemen. This right here pissed me off to no end. And it pissed me off because, like, when, and so it says, in case you're just tuning in, Donna Brazile has just claimed that Julian Assange and WikiLeaks was selective in releasing emails, although Assange did make it clear that he tried to get emails from Trump as well. Democrats used to love Assange when he released info about Bush, though. So, because Donna Brazile has made it a constant. She reminded us the entire show, if you all remember. Hey, I've been doing this forever. Hey, I've been doing this forever. Hey, remember Jesse Jackson? Y'all, how many times did she bring up Jesse Jackson during this interview, for those of you who watched it? Holy shit. She literally brought up Jesse Jackson every single opportunity she got. And for her to say that, she remembers everything about the Democratic Party, then I think that she would clearly remember when WikiLeaks was in the favors of the Democratic Party, because he was releasing information about George Bush and Dick Cheney that ultimately made them war criminals internationally. They can't leave the country. Neither can, weirdly enough, Bernie Sanders' old consultant. Oh man, don't make me remember his name right now. I think it's like Robert. It's something M. It's something with an M in his name, but I can't remember. But he's a criminal. But anyway, you love the WikiLeaks. Y'all love the WikiLeaks. Y'all love the WikiLeaks, and now they're trying to say that WikiLeaks was selective in releasing the emails. This is the first time she says it, and what she's referencing in this particular situation is the fact that he didn't release emails on Donald Trump. So let's do some critical thinking for a second. When has WikiLeaks released personal emails from private entities in their history? Can name one organization, one email that was not in some way, form, or fashion attached to a government or a government official that has been released by WikiLeaks? Don't worry, I'll wait. It won't take long because it never happened. It's never happened. He's always released information about public figures because private emails, one, don't get leaked. WikiLeaks never hacks anything. The leaks are just, they call themselves WikiLeaks, they don't call themselves wiki hacks. It's WikiLeaks. People get pissed. People who are working in the system who decide to take a stand and fight the corruption within that system, no matter what country they are from, gets pissed off. They give the emails to WikiLeaks through various through various means, like when it's claimed by one WikiLeaks official who was also an ambassador that Seth Rich actually met up with him in a park. He flew from Great Britain, from the UK, and met up with Seth Rich in DC Park. So, like, they're leaks, and there was some fluff all in those leaks, right? Like, every leak wasn't a gem. There was some pretty specific and general emails, but the important part of this particular tweet is that she claims, why didn't you release anything on Donald Trump? Well, Donna, there's a lot of reasons why. And if you actually took, like, literally, like, take a day and just do some damn research. Julian Assange addressed this in his original interview in Argentina, actually, which was a big deal. Because he said, actually, we tried to get leaks from the RNC. And it was like nothing there, because at that time, it was just them colluding to try and get Trump out, which we already knew was a thing. They made it pretty open, really, that they didn't like Trump and that they were all rooting against him, including the chairperson of the RNC. Uh, but Trump himself was never in court, like in having email correspondence with the campaign, with the RNC. He hated them. They hated him. Nor did it in the RNC before the primary had concluded, had never at all, in the slightest, had any inclination that they were one day going to have to support Donald Trump. But I will say this. Julian Assange also, more recently, came out publicly, and Donald Trump Jr. confirmed this and said, hey, actually, I did try to get emails from Donald Trump Jr. I actually asked him several times to get those emails so that, you know, he's objective as he always is and always has been, or WikiLeaks is objective as they always have been, publishing information as they receive it. There's nothing selective about it. He asked Donald Trump Jr. And then remember, the fact that he asked Donald Trump Jr. to print the emails out was a big deal to with the neoliberals, because they said, oh, he was communicating with Donald Trump Jr. Clearly it was about Russia. It's like, no, y'all said that he was being selective in the emails that he released. He was showing you all. No, I actually tried to get emails leaked about Donald Trump as well. I tried to get emails leaked about his tax returns, or get his tax returns leaked as well. I couldn't get it for whatever reason. He doesn't get all the information he wants when he wants. He could hack it, I'm sure, but that's not how he operates, which is why he's always exonerated by international court systems and justice systems. They were not one-sided. He did his job, and he continues to try to do his job. But you're pretending like the Democrats just have always hated Julian Assange. Y'all loved him. Remember the whole Chelsea Manning thing? That's, once again, proof. How much more proof do you need, ladies and gentlemen? Chelsea Manning, who's responsible for a lot of the leaks for the Bush and Cheney administration, was exonerated and released by Obama. Hold up. How are you going to release her, but you just swore up and down like that clearly Julian Assange is in collusion with the Russians? Now he's not in collusion with the... At that time, you know, he wasn't in collusion with the Russians. Just right now. He's in collusion with the Russians right now, you know. So, it's, once again, just another clear example of the facade that they put on to try and pretend like they have a short memory. I want to, hold on, what's going on, one second. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my application. I got like 2 screens up right now, so. Did I unplug my computer from my thing? Okay, whatever. Anyway, so sorry y'all, technology. Always having technical difficulties. But yeah, so this is next. So if you believe it was a botched robbery, why would you feel unsafe? Tim asked that question to Donna, and I was super happy that he asked it. Man, I don't even know what her answer was to that question. It was so all over the place. Well, you know, people hated, you know, the Democratic Party. They were being nefarious and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, woe is me. We screwed the American people, and we were so surprised that they would react like this. We never expected to get caught. That was pretty much her answer. But Tim then reiterated again, okay, and that's all good. I understand that. But you said yourself you think it's about robbery. So, like, that means that you don't think that it has any association with any of the things that you just said, that it was just a botched robbery, and that there was no nefarious intentions towards silencing anyone in the Democratic Party or silencing anyone who had information, but it was just a botched robbery. Like, saying that you feared for your life because of Seth Rich would insinuate that someone who murdered him knew that he was working for the Democratic Party. And a botched robbery would usually entail that this guy, like, you're going to assume that this guy worked for the Democratic Party. That's why you went up to him and shot him and didn't steal anything. Like, you're saying that you didn't know anything about him, but you killed him and didn't take anything. Come on. She dodged the hell out of that question. But what comes next with the Seth Rich situation, which I'm actually surprised she addressed, even a little bit. Where'd it go? Oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I'm gonna have to come back down. Oh, where you at? Hold on. We almost there. There it go. Donna Brazile just told us that Seth Rich was in charge of literally every voting apparatus from outreach to analysis, which is like, whoa. Like, I always knew that Seth like managed and did deal with a lot of the voting and the outreach and things like that, but like she just was pretty much just kind of reiterating and reaffirming, like, yeah, it's clearly an accident. Like, and what investigator in their right mind would believe that, like, nothing, that's never connected? I guarantee if Hillary Clinton just came up dead one day, if David Washington Schultz just came up dead one day, any of those party heads came up dead, it would be a crazy investigation. We'd be totally publicized. No one would be trying to, to suppress it. But Seth Rich dies and no one wants to talk about it. If you ever suggest that there should be an investigation for a murder, for a botched robbery where nothing was taken, if you ever try to suggest that there should be an investigation after a private investigator comes out and said, yeah, the police are colluding to make sure that I don't get information. Oh, and by the way, Donna Brazile is colluding with them to make sure I don't get information. Oh, and by the way, co-workers and the police and Seth Rich's brother said that Seth and Donna Brazile have a little bit of a rough relationship. But that doesn't require any kind of investigation. Or the fact that once the chief of police tried her damnedest to resolve this issue and said very openly and publicly that this absolutely was not a botched robbery, does not follow any of the patterns of what a botched robbery normally looks like. And then she steps down because she says the police department is incredibly too corrupt. Yeah, we have absolutely no reason whatsoever to believe that there should be some type of investigation into this matter that's transparent and gives the public and Seth Rich's family peace of mind to know that our legal system and our justice system isn't completely and totally destroyed, which it clearly is. But hey, she didn't fear for her life, had nothing to do with that, even though she said it had everything to do with that. Another thing that she claimed, they absolutely found nothing on Seth Rich's computer. But according to Rod Wheeler, and according to the police department, or except for that one person who was the intel for Rod Wheeler, we don't know where his computer is. We don't know. And then it turned out that Seth's brother had it, even though the police department and the FBI said that they didn't know where it was, like on the record. Then whenever Rod Wheeler tried to look into the computer, they absolutely refused to let him look at the computer. This is from the private investigator that was hired by Seth Rich's family. Seth Rich's brother was doing nothing in the computer. So how can you know? The police department didn't say they didn't find anything in the computer. They said they couldn't find the computer at first. Come on, people. This is just, once again, just doubling down on the nonsense. With no proof, with no substantive evidence proving, like, substantiating anything she says. Oh man, this just goes back to what I said earlier. Donna Brazile just said that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the one who made the decision to limit debates. But like I said earlier, she's just said that the election was not rigged because the DNC didn't decide those types of things. She also said that because Hillary Clinton won by however X amount of votes, and because Bernie Sanders had less and less, like, I don't think she understands the definition of rigging. I really think she does not. Like, I know they did all these things, but that doesn't mean it was rigged in her favor. She's full of shit. Then this is the second time that she actually brought up WikiLeaks. But she doubled down saying that WikiLeaks was selective and chose not to show any emails whatsoever that they liked Bernie, and that they liked Bernie as much as Hillary, as in they were, which, by the way, she didn't give us any examples of what those emails could have been or what they would have said. She just was like, WikiLeaks was just showing all the emails that made it seem like we hated Bernie. It's like, nah, they were actually emails in there that made Bernie look a little sketch sometimes. I mean, we later researched what those emails meant, but okay. What is an example of how you treated him well and you were trying to make sure that it was fair? Because it isn't just, even if WikiLeaks was selective, right? Because she said that's how you know that they were colluding with Russia to corrupt our election. Even if they were selective, those emails, those comments, those intentions were coming down from top Democratic Party officials. Either way, that is extremely concerning. And the fact that she refuses to address the information that was talked about in those emails, and at the same time tries to claim that the Democratic Party was somehow fair to Bernie. He's not even a Democrat. She qualified every statement that she said with that before she explained why that Bernie should be kissing their knee. That's just the kind of party Democrats are. We were so kind to allow the democratic process to take place and allow Bernie Sanders to run as a Democrat. We didn't have to. We didn't have to give him a fair chance at a fair election. We didn't have to let him use our ridiculously bolstered and incorporated private party that is literally one half of a duopoly that prevents anyone else from running as an independent or otherwise. We didn't have to let him use that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is literally the epitome of what's wrong with the Democratic Party. The fact that she thinks that the Democratic Party was acting altruistic by quote-unquote allowing Bernie Sanders to run despite him not being a Democrat is fucking disgusting. But she said it with so much pride. And once again, it's just indicative of how fucking twisted the mindset of establishment politicians are. Oh yeah, the super race bait. Donna Brazile race baited like hell. You as a black man should know how it feels to be treated unfairly. And this was in reference to Donna Brazile reacting or not reacting to election rigging. That was literally her next statement. You should know how it feels to be as a black man. She kept bringing up the fact that she was black over and over and over again. We know you're black, Donna. You're black. It's cool, whatever. But what does that have to do with you allowing people to walk all over you? You had a platform. You bragged about, I want to have my political column again. You had a platform that you could have exposed this. You could have told the truth about Bernie Sanders and his record with civil rights. You called him your friend. But you let Jesse James try to pretend like Hillary Clinton's better for black people. You let Hillary Clinton pretend like that. You let all these black politicians pretend like Bernie Sanders was literally not out there getting arrested for civil rights, chaining himself to anyone who was going to jail, literally in the trenches with us. And Hillary Clinton was, a Goldwater girl. But you care about being black now. It's about defending your blackness. Tim, you feel me, right? You're gonna cut me some slack because I'm black and you're black, and we're both black, so let's be black together. A lot of people have said that to me, and I always make fun of people who like when I go to like Democratic Party meetings or political events or anything like that in Florida, and they always ask me why don't I run for office, and they don't know who I am a lot of the times because I'll put it like this. The progressive members in politics here, we do a pretty good job of hiding who I am. So when I go report everything, people are not suspicious every time I walk into a meeting. So they never know who I am. And I go back and report the craziness I saw. And they don't know why people know about it. But Yeah, but they asked me to run for office, and hey, why don't you do this? We need more black men to do this and this and this, and that I agree with. But then they'll say, as a black person, you can understand when, and they use that to justify why I should be okay with rigging or settling for less progression, for settling for a less progressive candidate, even though a progressive candidate is available. For not, I should understand why we can't hold the Democratic Party completely accountable. We can hold them a little bit accountable at the time. I should just ignore the fact that election rigging has primarily, a lot of the times, affected black people. They don't care about that part of being black. Not the Democratic Party, I mean. But hey, at least, hey, you're black, I'm black. Let's forget about all that rigging shit, right? And then this was the one that was like, whew, I'm glad you said that. Because she was using Julian Assange, saying that they were being selective, and then Tim asked her, "Did you give the same question to Sanders that you did to Hillary?" Her response was, "Oh, I reached out to Sanders' campaign all the time. I also reached out to Jane. Jane's my friend. Remember Jesse Jackson? Remember we're both black? Remember all this? Remember that? I'm friends. I've been fighting for rights and civil rights and da-da-da-da. I've been part of the Democratic Party for 30 years. I've known Barack Obama, Hillary." Like, bro. She literally refused to answer the question. Did her damnedest to not have to deal with that. But I'm glad, because it just once again reaffirms that you're going to sit here and tell me you don't have any evidence of the election being rigged against Bernie Sanders. And yet, you were literally the evidence. You were the evidence that the election was rigged. But hey. Then she brought up being black, and then once again, Tim responded with such wit. And it was, and I like that Tim he can kill them with the kindness, and it gets them to continue talking and putting their foot in their mouth. I think it's a talent that he has. I don't have that talent because I'm not that kind, but he's a little bit more experienced with wisdom than I am, and I'm not that patient yet. I like seeing people held accountable. I'm one for nuance, but I also like seeing people held accountable, and I want them held accountable immediately. And I can't have someone bullshit in front of me, and then, Tim laughs it off because he knows it's bullshit, and he knows that we know it's bullshit. Like I said, he's a little bit more experienced than I am, and he can handle those things a little bit more gracefully than me. I'm not that graceful. But Tim handled this one famously. Said, I remember when BLM went to Hillary, and they got thrown out. And then I remember them going to Bernie's rally and actually getting a chance to speak. And that was in response to her, "Hey, we're both black. Hey, let's be black together. Hey, can we be black? Remember, you black, I'm black, slavery, civil rights, Jesse Jackson." Just literally, as many times I'm bringing up Jesse Jackson in this conversation, anyone who actually watched this interview knows that I'm telling the truth. She literally brought it up this many times. I'm not exaggerating. There's no hyperbole here. For real. Nobody likes Jesse Jackson that much. Okay? So, Tim finally got to my question. I want to give because he kind of went a little bit off of it. The gist of it was correct, but he went a little bit off of it. I want to clarify. My question was asking why would she back Hillary if she was clearly worse for blacks? Because she, remember, all this history she has with Hillary, all this history she has with the black community, all this history she has with civil rights, all this history she has with women that she could not stop reminding us of. She knew this, but yet she still voted and used her superdelegate vote to vote for Hillary, and threw all her weight behind Hillary anyway over Bernie Sanders, who was chained to a black woman during the civil rights movement as a Jewish kid. Her answer was, "I've been fighting my whole life and I'm not backing down." And I'm like, oh God, here we go. And I'm going to tell you why I think she kept using that. She kept going back to that every time. But she had no answer for my question, which was totally indicative of why I think that the identity politics that the DNC, the Democratic Party, plays is total bullshit. You sold us out. You threw us under the bus for political position and political gain. Period, point blank. And I probably would have had a lot more admiration and a lot more respect for her if she would have said that from the very beginning. If she would have just admitted, hey, you know what? I messed up. I shouldn't have did it. I was being selfish. And I would have had a lot more admiration for her. Still wouldn't have liked her, but I would have had a lot more admiration for her. However, that's not what she said. She made it about herself, which she constantly did. It was about all of her achievements, to the point where Tim had to eventually say, listen, we know nobody's questioning like your history and politics. We know that's what makes you an establishment politician. That's what makes you like your experience with a bunch of establishment people. That's exactly what makes you an establishment politician. But yeah, she sold us. She threw us under the bus. Jesse Jackson did too. God, what's that boy? John? Is it John? John? I'm having a brain fart right now. From Georgia, the senator from Georgia who claimed that he didn't see Bernie Sanders in the civil rights movement, but he fought with Hillary in the civil rights movement, but Bernie Sanders was just literally standing beside him during a civil rights speech. That was fun. She also said, because Tim asked her, how do you respond to people who feel a certain type of way about Debbie Wasserman Schultz? And she said that anybody who is trying to hold her accountable is trying to tear people down to build themselves up. No, bitch. We want to make sure that our elections have accountability when someone tries to openly rig them and break the law in more ways than one. I think that asking for accountability is not at all self-serving. I mean, it is self-serving to the degree that, I think all of you personally want your elections to not be rigged. I think that's a fair request. And I don't think that was selfish at all. But the fact that she called it self-serving, the fact that she thinks this is legitimately, we should move on and ignore everything that happened. Let's just move on together and ignore it and run for office, even though you can't win because people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Donna Brazile, and everyone else in the Democratic Party rig it. We just literally we're right now in the midst of like one of the biggest scandals of the year with Tim Canova's ballots and Debbie Wasserman Schultz ballots of that race were literally destroyed after they were subpoenaed in a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit. Those ballots were subpoenaed and they were destroyed right after. And probably no one's going to be held accountable. And if we ask for accountability, apparently that makes us self-serving, and that means we're trying to tear down Mrs. Snipes, who destroyed the ballots, who authorized the destruction of the ballots. We're trying to tear her down. We're not just trying to get accountability and make sure our electoral system is stable. And then it's so crazy that she says stuff like that and then says run for office. For why? In the important areas, in the important races, you rig it. I'm witnessing it right now with a colleague of mine, Stephanie Myers, running for House of Florida. They're rigging it. When she partially announced that she was going to run, the Democratic Party immediately ran a candidate, is trying to run a candidate against her in the primaries, after they realized that Stephanie would not be controlled by money and that she would not take any super PAC donations. Even though they had not planned on running anybody because the person who runs Stephanie's district at the moment is a Republican. And they kept getting, because all the Democrats do in South Florida is kind of like try to be less Republican than the Republicans do. So they never are able to win. But that's the type of shit they pull. They have DNC, like Florida Democratic Party members endorsing the progressive candidate's opponent out the gate. Same thing we saw there in the national primaries. Endorsing or donating their own money to a progressive candidate's opponent, just so that progressive candidate can't possibly take office one day, possibly influence any legislation in Florida, possibly offer substantive endorsements, or possibly change anything, the way that anything is ran in that area, especially in the education system, because it's a big deal. just because she refused to take PAC money. That's what we're dealing with. But if we ask for accountability for those who violate laws, I thought that made us law-abiding citizens, but apparently it makes us self-serving, and it's an attempt to tear people down to build ourselves up. Just, oh my goodness. And here's what it ultimately comes down to, in my opinion. I feel like Donna Brazile is a very much so low-key Democratic Party wild card. I feel like they think that she could perhaps be the answer to Bernie Sanders because she is a black woman, and literally for no other reason. Because she showed her loyalty to Clinton, they will go out and vote for her again in the general. And they will even come out and vote for her enough, not enough to beat Bernie, but they will come out and vote for her enough in the primary. And I think after she wrote that letter, I think because notice her entire narrative changed. Everything changed. I think somebody called her up and was like, all right, we got it. You can run. You'll have our backing. We don't have anyone else right now that can beat Bernie, but we don't want him to win. I mean, we saw what they did with the Unity Committee. We saw like there's this all kinds of internal conflict. They don't want Bernie to win, and they are desperate enough to take a black woman and put her in the face as the face of the party, even though she would get out of, like, I mean, I'm just being realistic. That particular black woman would get utterly destroyed by Donald Trump, just obliterated, because she's not progressive. If you notice, she never factually qualified anything she said. She always premised her statements with, I'm such a good person. You know me, so believe what I say. I have this history, and so my opinions are fact. And if you think otherwise, it's because you're a bad person. I know everything. I know that Russiagate is real, despite the fact that there's all kinds of evidence proving otherwise. I know that Julian Assange is working for Russia, despite the fact that all evidence proves otherwise. I know for a fact that Russia attacked the DNC emails, despite once again the fact that hard evidence proves otherwise, and also despite the fact that CrowdStrike could easily just turn over the service of the FBI so that we can easily prove that they were hacked by Russian intelligence, and they won't. Despite the fact that a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist said that, yeah, the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist is Seymour Hersh, the one who exposed the Obama administration with the Libya and the chemical weapons in Syria thing. He came out and said that the Seth Rich story is not a conspiracy. It is, for the most part, that we are justified in demanding that investigation. He's come out and said that the New York Times, of course, they ended up retracting everything, but that they oftentimes will post fake news, whether it's incidental or otherwise. Sometimes they do it on purpose. He also said, pretty candidly, because I don't think he knew he was being recorded, that the CIA is in fact running a disinformation campaign, and that the CIA heads did not want a Bernie Sanders to be in office. They wanted Hillary Clinton to be in office because they wanted to maintain those contracts that keep them wealthy. Everything. I mean, we know for a fact that Rod Wheeler, which he refused to talk about, by the way, if y'all didn't notice, Rod Wheeler, the private investigator hired by Seth Rich's family, we know that he told us that Seth's computer was in the brother's possession, and he was disallowed to see it. We know for a fact that it was a botched robbery, and we know for a fact that the chief stepped down because she was being refused to investigate that quote-unquote botched robbery, and she refused to accept the fact that it was simply a botched robbery because of fucking common sense. I refuse to allow you to try to use your blackness as a black man. I refuse to allow you to use your blackness to ask us to forgive you, to use that as some type of exoneration tool. Like, oh, I'm a black woman, so this is what I've done my whole life. I know plenty of corrupt black people, just like I know plenty of corrupt white people. And in fact, as a corrupt system tends to be, you're more likely to be corrupt in a lot of ways in that type of position if you're black, because we have an instinct in us to fight and claw to get to the top, because we've been we've been refused to sit at the table, and we want to believe that our abilities have earned us the right at that table, and we want to shoot that we show and prove that we can perform at that table, and black people will do what they have to get there, and oftentimes they lose themselves along the way. But you're not going to sit here and pretend that we should forgive you, that everything that happened in you being attacked for how you rigged the primary, and how you assisted in rigging the primary, how you ignored the rigging of the primary, and how you perpetuated a false narrative that's been disproven time and time again. We don't like you. We don't not like you because you're black. We dislike you and what you have done, because with all the experiences of being a black woman, with all the experiences of supposedly being a progressive, with all of the experiences of being a minority, we hold you to a much higher standard, especially when you use those experiences to qualify why we should believe you. We hold you to a much higher standard, a standard that you absolutely refuse to meet, and now a standard that you are trying to use as a deflection tool. But moral of the story is, if you notice, she kept talking about her experience. She kept talking about coming together. She kept talking about coming into the Democratic Party. She kept talking about, kind of keeping her distance from attacking the Democratic Party and holding them accountable. Didn't want to attack Debbie Wasserman Schultz here, but had no problem attacking her in her letter and in her book. Had no problem holding people accountable in that letter. And then once again, like the next day, when she went on television, or 2 days later when she went on television, her entire narrative changed. It's like somebody tapped on the shoulder and said, okay, we get it, you can run. Because Donna was promised a seat at the table when Hillary won. And somebody was probably like, yeah, nah, you're not getting that. That's Kamala's seat. And then Kamala has kind of faded into the background, which is, I don't know exactly why Kamala's faded into the background. They just realized she's just not testing well. She's not polling well against Trump, nor is she polling well at all against Bernie Sanders, and her past is much too riddled in controversy. So they're like, look, okay, we get it. You can run. We can see what will happen. You'll have our backing if you decide to run. Because she has to supplement her income somehow. She's not working at CNN anymore. So I legitimately believe that there is a strong possibility that Donna Brazile is planning on running for potentially president. I really truly believe that there's a good chance that she's running for president. That's my wrap up, man. That's my wrap up of this entire interview. I'm definitely going to address this jank bullshit tomorrow. By the way, I don't know why it's coming up as this. It should not be coming up as this. But Jank is trying to start a petition. Jank from TYT is trying to start a petition to if you don't fire Mueller. Like, bro, you didn't start a petition. You didn't want to petition the DNC. You didn't want to, like, nothing significant that actually affects the vote, that affects elections, that affects the people directly. Those aren't significant enough for you. But you just want to put out a petition for what? For what? Jank is like all talk, no action. But hey, anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you like this show, make sure you subscribe. We have a lot of shows, and just as a disclaimer, I am not Republican nor am I Democrat. I am progressive and I am objective. And I speak the truth about both Democrats, Republicans, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, whoever. So if you're here to have words of reaffirmation of whatever beliefs you have, this might not be the channel for you. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't do this for profit or for personal gain. This is literally just to reveal truths and facts through objective analysis. And so if you subscribe and if you like those type of things, if you like the truth, no matter what political side of the political spectrum you fall on, this is definitely the channel for you. If you do not, however, hey, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I would love to have you, but we are absolutely 100%, no matter who you are, progressive, Republican, Democrat, or otherwise, going to disagree about something. And that's okay. We can talk about it. We can get to the bottom of it. But thank you all once again so much for watching. I think we actually had a record number of people tune in tonight. We got about 100 and what did it say? Oh, we got at to about 107 tonight, so that's actually a record. So awesome. Thank you all so much for watching, and always remember, people, find your balance. Peace.